It's 4 in the afternoon on Tuesday, October 28th here in Seoul. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Hwang Ji-hye. We start off with the heated national debate over reforming the pension program for public servants, while President Park Geun-hye pushes ahead to see passage of the revisions by the end of this year. The main opposition party and government workers say the plan represents a change for the worse. Our Ji Myung-kil has more.
The ruling Saenuri Party is moving to reduce the deficit in the pension program for government employees by launching a new pension system for public servants starting in 2016. The reform plan centers on increasing the age that payments can be received from 60 to 65 by the year 2031. President Park Geun-hye on Tuesday called for the reform bill to be passed by the end of the year, adding that a delay will place a greater burden on future generations. Pension reform was a key part of the president's 3-year economic innovation plan announced in February.
개혁이 늦어지면 늦어질수록 부담이 증가하고 현행 시스템을 유지하는 것이 더 어려워지는 것이 현실입니다.
We can only ask the public for understanding. At our current rate, the government will be spending $1.9 trillion in 2080 to meet the shortfall from the civil servants' pension scheme.
According to the ruling party's calculations, the plan will save the government $95 billion in the first 12 years after its implementation starting in 2016. The main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy is taking a more cautious approach to the proposal, with members voicing their reservations.
The proposed pension reforms by the ruling Saenuri Party and the government represent a change for the worse. Instead of narrowing the payment gap between better paid and poorly paid officials, retirees from the public sector will be paid less.
The Government Employees Union declared it is launching a national campaign to resist the reforms, with a demonstration slated for November 1st. Ji Myung-kil, ARIRANG News.
Now, on the country's economic front, public and private debt is piling up within the domestic economy. The total amount has gotten so high that it now actually threatens to take a bite out of consumption and investment. Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Korean households, business entities, and the nation are deep in debt to the point where it's starting to have an effect on consumption and investment. After analyzing data compiled by the Finance Ministry, the Bank of Korea, and the Korea Institute for Industrial Economics and Trade, ruling Saenuri Party lawmaker Lee Hyung-gu says individual debt reached nearly $1.2 trillion last year. That's more than 85% of the country's nominal GDP and surpasses the World Economic Forum's threshold of 75%. Liability by Korean companies amounted to more than $1.7 trillion last year, exceeding Korea's nominal GDP by nearly 27%. Public debt, including the liability of public agencies, civil servants, and military pensions, comes to $1.6 trillion, which surpasses nominal GDP by nearly 15%. The country's high level of debt is raising concerns that it will affect domestic consumption. Korea's consumer sentiment dropped in October to levels seen in May following April's Seoul ferry disaster. An official from the Bank of Korea attributes the decline to the pessimistic outlooks for the Korean economy, which include a lowering of the country's growth projections, falling share prices, and economic risks stemming from the Eurozone. Kim Ji-yeon, ARIRANG News.
And over in North Korea, a Japanese specialist says Pyongyang is now focusing more on its economic development and less on the political and ideological pursuits of the past. Son Jung-in reports.
North Korea seems very dedicated to developing its economy and infrastructure, and although it's still in the early stages, it appears confident in its achievements. That's according to Junya Nishino, an associate professor at Keio University in Japan, who recently visited North Korea with 10 other Japanese scholars. Nishino, a specialist on Korea and Korea-Japan relations, visited Pyongyang and the port city of Wonsan in mid-October and met with Song Il-ho, North Korea's ambassador, for negotiations on normalizing diplomatic relations with Japan. Speaking to Yonhap News Agency on Monday, Nishino quoted Song as saying that Pyongyang is doing well despite Japan's 10-year-long sanctions. He said the U.S.'s strict policy against the North is causing it some hardship, but that it is managing the situation well. The professor also pointed out something he noticed during the talks. He said that North Korean officials are focused more on the economy and improving the people's livelihoods than politics and ideology as in the past. He added that amid somewhat strained relations with China, the North may pursue ways to promote global diversification with other countries like Japan, Russia, and Europe. 손정인, 아리랑 뉴스.
A forum that revolves around one of President Park Geun-hye's signature initiatives kicked off this Tuesday here in Seoul. The Northeast Asia Peace and Cooperation Forum will cover a range of issues from nuclear safety and energy security to conservation efforts and disaster preparedness. Officials from all members of the six-party talks aimed at denuclearizing North Korea are attending the three-day meeting except for the North, which had been invited to participate. Pyongyang has been critical of the forum, calling it a plot against the North. And now on to some tech news. There's a new curved smartphone out on the market in Seoul today. Samsung Electronics, the world's top smartphone maker, released the Galaxy Note Edge earlier in the day through mobile provider SK Telecom. Samsung says the phone is a cross between a smartphone and a tablet PC with a 5.6-inch curved display. It's a high-end smartphone with a Quad HD resolution and a 16-megapixel camera. The price of the Note Edge is about $1,000 here in Korea. The phone is set to be released in the United States by the end of November. But here's some news that cast a cloud over Samsung Electronics and many other major companies here. A new report shows that China is fast catching up to Korea in key industries, including global communication devices and automobiles. Park Ji-won tells more.
Will Korea maintain its global competitiveness in its strongest industries down the road? The country currently holds the top position in the global shipbuilding, communication device, and display sectors. Automobiles and semiconductors are also key for Korea. But a new study predicts that China will overtake most of these industries in just 4 years. The Korea Institute for Industrial Economics and Trade says that although Korea currently faces the toughest competition from Japan, the US, and European countries, China will be Korea's biggest competitor in 9 key industries by 2018. After that, only Korea's automobile sector, which is now the world's 5th largest, will maintain its global competitiveness. Korea's general machinery and semiconductor sectors will also see fierce competition from China in the coming 4 years. The forecast is also gloomy for Korea's shipbuilding, communication device, and display sectors, which are currently #1 in the world. The institute adds China will be especially strong in IT sectors like smartphones and LCDs, which are Korea's main exports at present. Park Ji-won, ARIRANG News.
The outlook for Korean construction companies, on the other hand, looks quite bright. We're seeing a steady rise in construction projects overseas, especially in Southeast Asian markets. Nowhere is that more apparent than in Malaysia. Our Kwon So-ah has the details.
This 58-floor, 274-meter-high skyscraper will be Malaysia's 3rd highest building upon completion next year. IB Tower is situated in the capital Kuala Lumpur, led by Daewoo Engineering and Construction.
Different from other buildings, we used a cutting-edge method of exposing all the columns on the outside of the building. We expect this to become a new landmark.
In Malaysia, the Korean wave trend appears to have extended into the construction field too, as major Korean construction companies have participated in or been the sole builders of some of the highest skyscrapers in the country. In fact, Korea's construction volume accounts for around 20% of Malaysia's construction market. And overseas construction projects in general have been on a steady rise, with this year's volume of orders estimated to hit $70 billion.
I know very well Korean company make high-rise building in Malaysia and very impressed to bring the new technology, new quality and new design in Malaysia. I'm very impressed.
According to Daewoo Construction, no matter how difficult a project is, Korea's companies have a reputation of meeting their deadlines. But that alone may not be enough to emerge as the leader in the Malaysian market, as China is rising as a competitor.
Beijing is supporting Chinese construction firms greatly, while Korean companies have to survive independently to seize the market.
Industry watchers say Korea needs to focus on price competitiveness and technical skills to be successful in the long term. Kwon So-ah, ARIRANG News.
And at the venue of the 3-week International Telecommunication Union Conference in the southern port city of Busan, an exhibition showcasing the latest healthcare technologies opened yesterday. The key focus of the event is to promote smart features in medical devices and equipment that can be used at hospitals and at home. Shin Se-min reports.
Forget the hard, lumpy beds you find in most hospitals. Smart beds like these provide patients with a more comfortable experience.
With this bed, patients can monitor and adjust temperatures and level of humidity in their rooms. It also measures every move of a patient thanks to a non-contact sensors in the bed, giving doctors and nurses valuable information, especially during emergencies.
The smart devices in the healthcare system don't just end there. It goes way beyond. Smart technology is also enabling patients to keep track of their own blood pressure and diabetes at home.
And we, as doctors in hospitals, we need to recognize that patients are smart and they have the ability to look at information, learn about themselves. We need to encourage that. We need to help them learn about their health so they can stay healthy and so they can control their chronic conditions and stay out of the hospitals. Once they're sick, sure, we can do a lot of great technology things in the hospitals. But again, we need to move things to the left. We need to keep people out of the hospitals.
Calling Korea a hotbed of technology, Dr. Sun said the country should take advantage of new technologies to make the healthcare system more efficient.
You know, there are too many patients that need to be seen, and there are not enough doctors. Doctors need to not be so insecure. I should get to the point where I'm taking care of patients for more than 5 minutes, maybe for 15 or 20 or even 30 minutes. We're not helping patients effectively by taking care of them 5 minutes at a time.
Looking forward to the day he can spend more time examining his patients, Dr. Sun said he hopes healthcare systems evolve to provide higher quality treatment over the coming years. Shin Se-min, ARIRANG News, Busan.
And this next report demonstrates how Korea's healthcare industry is seeking to incorporate technology into its medical services. Our Kim Min-ji takes us to a local hospital that's demonstrating how Google Glass can be used in the emergency room.
This patient has just been hit by a car and is bleeding severely from his head. An ambulance worker puts on a smart, wearable device and starts recording what he sees. And this can be seen from the hospital emergency room.
혈압이 낮으면 수액을 먼저 다는 게 어떨까 싶은데. 예, 혈관 확보하겠습니다. 허락해 주십시오. 네, 알겠습니다. 허가하겠습니다. IV 수액을 지금 투여하십시오. 예, 알겠습니다.
In the 15 minutes it takes to get to the hospital, the paramedic follows the directions of the doctor while hospital staff prepare the necessary medical equipment for the patient. It's a scene that could be from a movie but is part of a smart emergency medical service demonstration by Myung-ji Hospital in Goyang, the first of its kind in Korea. Using state-of-the-art technology, in this case the Google Glass, which enables real-time video communication, the service aims to provide the best possible response in the shortest amount of time for patients that could be in critical condition.
Google Glass allows doctors to see the exact condition of the patient and therefore allows for clearer and more effective treatments. The paramedic is also less burdened as they have both hands free to use when attending to the patient.
In this situation, Google Glass enables doctors to not only check medical records of patients, but also lets them view X-rays and CT and MRI scans just by scanning a QR code that's loaded with the patient's details. Officials at Myung-kil Hospital hope to later adopt the technology in all areas of the hospital, from wards and outpatient clinics to operating rooms. However, there are some obstacles they will have to clear beforehand. Not only will the system be costly to adopt, Google Glass first needs to be authorized for medical use in Korea. Security issues are another concern, as the device can currently only be connected by Wi-Fi, and not all of the data exchanged may be encrypted. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
And Samsung Group's heir apparent is seeking to purchase shares of the group's key affiliates in a move that would strengthen his grasp on power. Financial supervisory authorities say that Samsung has asked for a review of relevant legal issues for Lee Jae-yong, the vice chairman of Samsung Electronics, buying stakes of Samsung Life Insurance and Samsung Fire and Marine Insurance. The move needs to be approved by the country's financial regulator. The junior Lee, the only son of Chairman Lee Geun-hye, wants to buy a small stake in each of the two companies, which would then make it easier for him to take over his father's stakes. Samsung has been preparing succession plans from the ailing chairman to the next generation. Now, today is so-called Savings Day in Korea, but the amount of money being saved here by households is among the lowest in the OECD. The Bank of Korea says the country's household savings rate stood at 3.4% as of 2011, falling short of the OECD average of 5.3%. The rate last year was 4.5%, up more than 1 percentage point from the previous year. Although it did rise in 2013, the rate has been sliding since 2001, only surpassing the 5% mark in 2 years, that is in 2004 and 2005. We now move on to some international news. The Islamic State group has released a new video featuring British hostage John Cantley, and unlike his previous appearance, he takes a very different role. The man, identifying himself as the British journalist taken hostage nearly 2 years ago, sheds his orange jumpsuit and portrays himself as a foreign correspondent on a story. Cantley says he's in the border city of Kobani, and unlike Western media accounts, he says the fight for the embattled city was coming to an end, with the terror group already conquering most of it. The clip was distributed online via various social media platforms. Over on the Ebola outbreak, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has issued a new set of guidelines for containing the spread of Ebola within its borders. The new guidelines come as some states' mandatory 21-day quarantine on all healthcare workers returning from West Africa was coming under heavy criticism for being an overreaction. CDC Director Dr. Thomas Frieden appeared to back this view, saying returning workers should be monitored for Ebola symptoms, but not necessarily isolated in a hospital. Now, a special exhibition displaying the artistic works of Nobel Prize winners is underway here in Korea. It aims to promote science and creativity, but also to show the lighter side of some of the world's most innovative thinkers. Polly reports.
A football can endure the powerful strike of a kicker because of its strong and solid structure. Professor Harold Kroto of Florida State University won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1996 for the discovery of fullerene, a carbon molecule that resembles the shape of a football.
This is a quasi-crystal created by melting aluminum and manganese together and cooling it rapidly. It is a hard metal that does not conduct electricity and is used to make golf clubs or razor blades. Dan Sheckman, who won the 2011 Nobel Prize in Chemistry for this discovery, drew a picture representing the crystal's unique pattern structure.
Mother Nature has many secrets, and she's hiding them like Easter eggs. And we scientists look for the Easter eggs. And whenever we find something, we bring it, and Mother Nature is smiling at us.
These Nobel laureates are among 50 prize winners who have been asked to draw a picture of their ideas as part of the Sketch of Science exhibition, which began in 2012.
Well, we do hope that bringing out that science could be fun, that science is not only hard labor in the laboratory, but it could also be a playful way of describing an idea.
The art pieces are being displayed at the Kwacha National Science Museum through late November to give exhibit goers a peek into the humor and creativity of those Nobel Prize-winning minds. Paul Yi, ARIRANG News.
Researchers in southern Korea have made an exciting discovery at a site that's already produced a collection of other rare finds. Our Im Yoon-hee gives us a look at just what they found.
A 1,500-year-old tomb has been unearthed in Korea's southern city of Naju, South Jeollanam-do province. The excavation site, located in a region formerly known as Mahan, has so far produced a treasure trove of goods, including rare gold jewelry and jade, pottery and tools. The one item in particular has blown researchers away. It's a pair of gilt bronze shoes dating back to the Baekje Kingdom, and they were recovered in almost perfect condition. The intricate design and condition of the relic makes this discovery one of the first of its kind, shedding light on the history of Korea.
The dragon's teeth, ears, and horns are extremely detailed. They were able to reinterpret the design and add a touch of the Baekje Kingdom, which is not done easily.
The shoes, 32 centimeters in length, 9.5 centimeters in width, and 9 centimeters in height, displays excellent craftsmanship and artistic qualities, characteristics of Baekje-era artisans. The dragon image is paired with the image of a lotus blossom in delicate gilt bronze work, showcasing a close relationship between the ancient kingdoms.
I believe the cultural elements of the four nations of Gaya, ancient Japan, Baekje, and the Silla dynasty come together here.
Over a century later, the tomb is now a huge source of insight about the past, encapsulating a precious piece of history. Im Yoon-hee, ARIRANG News.
It's becoming more like winter every day. Michelle Park here with the latest weather forecast. The temperature hit 2.7 degrees in the morning here in Seoul today, but looking at the current temperature, the mercury is going up pretty fast and is now at 16 degrees, but we are expecting a temperature difference about 15 degrees between the day and night, so make sure you layer up before heading outside. Now looking at the skies, we can expect a clear and sunny skies today, but it will become cloudy as we proceed into the week, eventually bringing some rain down over our peninsula. Now until then, let's just enjoy this bright sunny day, except for those of you over in Gangwon-do province where a dry weather advisory has been issued, so please be advised. Now to our readings for today. Seoul will peak at 18 this afternoon. Meanwhile, southern cities such as Gwangju and Busan will reach up both at 21 degrees. And to other regions, Jeju-Hwalan peaks to 20, while Dokdo hits 14, while Mangkeungang will be at 17 degrees. Well, that's all for now. I'm Michelle Park, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that wraps up our newscast. I'll be back with more updates at 6 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.